Chiefs Kingdom, welcome into the latest episode of the AP Film Room on the Arrowhead Pride YouTube channel. Always fun. One of my favorite times of the week, breaking down the X's and O's, breaking down the film of anything we want to break down, right? We're talking Chiefs during the season. Now we're talking draft prospects. So yeah, that's what we're doing tonight. My name is Ron Kopp Jr. I'm the lead analyst at the site. I got Caleb and Nate with me as usual. Great film analyst for us at the site, but we're always coming to you on the YouTube page here. Boys, we're in a definitely a important time of the off season. We got a lot of stuff flying around. Nate, I don't know. I'll start with you, man. How you feeling about what you've been hearing? Orlando Brown Jr. not getting franchise tag, Frank Clark not, or he's getting cut. I don't know how you feeling about the Chiefs at this moment.
Yeah, I'll go quick on Orlando Brown. If you want some more kind of thoughts, I guess I thought he was going to be tagged, but I wrote about on the site why if the Chiefs weren't going to pay Orlando Brown long term, it actually just makes the most sense to let him walk in terms of like the flexibility to have this offseason. Certainly, it's hard. There's not a lot of great pass for the Chiefs at left tackle this offseason. I'm not going to pretend there is, but I didn't think there was in 2021 when the Chiefs missed out on Trent Williams. And I don't know if there's an Orlando Brown level player available in the trade market, but I'm going to give the Chiefs grace to figure it out. And I'll just be honest, I didn't want to pay Orlando Brown a significant amount of money long term. I was kind of out on Orlando Brown after the Jaguars game in the playoffs. At that point, I just don't trust him to hold up against any elite pass rusher, and I'm not paying a tackle long term that money. And it seems the Chiefs agree with that. There's still a chance they agree to a deal. I think the chances are very, very low, but I will never rule anything out. But for now, I'm going to give the Chiefs the grace to figure it out, and I'm not panicking.
Caleb, how are you feeling? How are you doing in this current state? We're kind of in flux right now in Chiefs Kingdom.
I think this is interesting for a couple of reasons. And, I think I at least thought they were going to use the tag on him at least this year and then maybe take a tackle to develop or at least let sit a year. But the one thing, obviously that first 4 or 5 hours after they cut him is just like a big frenzy of, we're never going to see him again. I would not be shocked if the market doesn't turn out to be as hot for him as it turns out to be. Mm-hmm. And what I mean by that is these teams, they know what's going on. Like there are instances when you turn the film on and you can go see like some of the plays the Chiefs runs. They give him some schematical help here and there to Orlando Brown. I've touched on that briefly a few times. I might touch on it more in depth here at some point. But the thing I would say is I don't think this closes the door. I still think there is a decent chance that he comes back. I don't think when they get into the open market, though, he's going to find the kind of money that he's seeking, regardless of, what we think. Everyone's saying, well, these teams will spend this and that. They know, there's a perception of he is who he is. And, he didn't make a ton of great strides from year 1 to year 2. So we'll see how it all plays out here in the next week or so.
Right. Yeah. No, we had to get our takes off, right? Because this is it's a super fork in the road moment for this Chiefs franchise, honestly.
Absolutely.
And it's just that it's that second offseason in a row where it's kind of almost a really daring Brett Veach move that's really just kind of been the pillar of the offseason. But all in all, my thing is just it's kind of fun to think about, hey, a new left tackle, these prospects. We kind of hit on it the first episode of the AP Film Room. There's some guys that we're all, that we're excited about maybe potentially being Chiefs. So my take is it's just kind of an exciting time. It's always exciting, the roster movements. It's kind of boring, right, when they have the same people over, the same team over and over. You like to, as an analyst that we are, we like to see it switched up and the possibilities. And one position that we're talking about today that definitely has plenty of room to be added to and some plenty of possibilities this offseason, the running back room. We have Isaiah Pacheco, obviously. He's taken over as a starter, but behind him, man, I really feel like we don't really know what's going to happen. Clyde is on the team, but we don't know that for sure by training camp. And besides that, there's no one else rostered. So that's what we're going to talk about, the college running backs tonight, guys going into the draft. And Nate, I'm going to let you lead off with one of the more exciting prospects in the class. I think we can all agree. And I think you're going to have a few clips to show us why he is that. So Devon Achane, right? Am I saying that right? Let's lead off with that.
I think so. I think it's Devon Achane. I'm not sure, but I think it was on last week when I was talking with you that we kind of decided what the Chiefs needed at running back this offseason was someone with a little more dynamic open field ability. And I think two guys in the class that have that the most are Jahmyr Gibbs and Devon Achane, or Achane, I guess. But we're going to kind of break down Achane today. Achane's kind of an interesting profile. He's 5'8" 3/4, only 188 pounds. So he is rather small. He did test in the 40-yard dash. He ran a 4.32 40-yard dash at the combine. That is in the 98th percentile. Something I didn't realize, he only had a 33-inch vertical, which is in the 31st percentile. I don't know what that means. I just thought that was kind of interesting considering how fast he ran. But when you turn on Achane on film, the first thing that shows up is the speed. And this first clip against Arkansas is a good example of this. He's just going to get a handoff, kind of gets like pressed in the hole, but just look at him outrun linebackers, outrun secondary players. This, as a play that I'll show a different angle of it in a second, but this could have been a TFL that he turns into a 50, 60-yard play where he's just flat out outrunning second and third level defenders, kind of gets tripped up and goes down. But this is a 70-yard run. You can kind of see here, this guy, there's a little bit of traffic here. He's able to kind of stop his feet, keep his balance, and just accelerate. So the speed is noticeable with Achane. What he can do in open space is absolutely dynamic. One thing I really thought was noticeable about Achane is he's actually got really good vision for a guy who is smaller. I was actually quite surprised about this. There's a different angle. I'll just show up this in a second, but they're going to kind of run zone here to the outside. Achane's going to be able to stop his feet completely. He's at a full stop, and he's able to read all the way back here. And there's a huge hole back here, but he's able to stop, able to cut back through the gap, and then he's able to kind of cut right back through the middle when that gap kind of closes to the outside. I was really impressed with his vision. One of the concerns you have with a smaller running back is maybe that he can only run zone concepts, that he's not going to be able to kind of run some power duo concepts. But Achane had no problem with this. Texas A&M is going to run kind of GH counter here. I'll show the end zone view. And I actually think what he does here is quite impressive. He's going to, this defensive tackle right here, number 94, he's going to set up in the hole. He's going to come to a full stop, set him up right through the middle. This tackle's going to lunge forward, and he's going to be able to find the vision and find the gap to go through. Good cut to get cut inside against this guy to break this tackle. But, Achane for a smaller back, I don't think he plays like it, because I remember when I was talking to you guys about it, Bryce Carter Arrowhead Pride was like, well, there's concerns about his size, but I didn't think it when I was watching film. I never would have guessed he was 5'8", 180 pounds. I thought he was bigger than that based off just the way he plays. Not a lot of receiving ability, only 65 catches over his career, 500 yards. But I think there's flashes of dynamic ability. This was in 2021 versus Alabama. And he's just going to run a wheel route right out of the backfield. And look how the separation he just gains from this linebacker. He is on top of them. He's going to catch this over the shoulder too, right on the sideline. I do have the other angle of this. Good throw, obviously, but he's going to catch this over the shoulder, which is not a thing you see a lot of running backs do. To be able to catch downfield over the shoulder, that really isn't a common thing. Last clip here of Achane. Again, he is smaller, but you would never know it because he finishes runs hard. And this play really sold me on him. Just the ability to kind of break tackles and just keep finishing, keep moving, keep the feet going. Overall, I was really impressed with him. He's probably been I watched about 10 running backs last weekend, and he was my favorite by far. Yes, there's some size concerns, and can he hold up the pass protection? And I do think that the receiving tree needs to be expanded. But if the Chiefs are looking for someone in day two with true dynamic ability, I think Achane makes a ton of sense.
Yeah, and one thing that's interesting about him, he's so fast. He has a track background. I think it's easy to be like, oh yeah, he has, or he's just a track athlete that's a football player. If you kind of read up on him or kind of listen to people to know him, he had to be convinced to do track. He was always a football player.
Right.
He's not the other way around, right? And I think sometimes you hear that he's a track athlete, and it's just like, oh, he's a track athlete first, football player later. No, this is the opposite. So definitely an interesting guy. Caleb, if you got any Achane thoughts, definitely let us know. And if not, just go ahead and show us your guy.
I think he's one of the most interesting backs in this class, between, maybe Gibbs and Robinson. He's definitely up there just because of his ability to create that explosion. But when you're talking about a small guy, Achane is small, but we're getting ready to go even smaller than that. And I'm getting ready to be sharing some film here on Deuce Vaughn. And really, he is one of these guys that it just doesn't make any sense for him to be playing football at the level he's at. He listed in at 5'5", But you can see, and actually he does not the ball carrier here, because let's take a look at what Deuce does on this play. He's a smaller guy, but he is tough. He can be physical in instances, but he's actually right by the quarterback there, number 22, and he's actually going to be lead blocking on this play. And I liked it just because, even though he's small, he doesn't back down. He gets a really nice block there in the open field. He gets some speed going. He can lay some people down. Obviously, why do K-State fans love him? Because he went to Kansas State. Also a very explosive player, which is why, he had over 1,500 yards rushing or something like that as a senior. Really, when you see that play, you don't think he scores. I didn't think he scored the first time I saw this either. But then we get to the end zone view and you see just real good vision. You see this hole starting to open up on the backside of the zone. 90 is not going to be able to cut it down. 8 is angling towards the play. So he's just going to cut back. And now you see, the smaller guy, he's obviously can cut on a dime like that. That's where he makes his money at. And then he turns on that Jets and he's off to the races, breaks one tackle. Really awesome body control here. I thought that was a great job. He did a great job with the body control there to, just be able to find the end zone. There's a lot of guys his size that would probably step out of bounds there. And for him to be able to cut through the hole, accelerate through the hole, make a couple of guys miss on his way, and then just watch them, watch his way to find him, watch how he finds his end zone here. He looks like he's going to get knocked out. Great body control. Obviously the size is going to be a limitation for him, but he does run hard. He's got instances like this play here where he's just going to put it up the middle. He's just going to keep his feet moving. He's got natural leverage, pretty good vision. I think he's a good vision player. One of the areas he's on the little option route right there. I think he's going to have to really develop his skills as a receiver and not just out of the backfield from the slot. He's going to have to do a lot of different things because at that 5'5" frame, there's going to be a lot of teams that just aren't willing to take a chance on him being, a high volume player just because of that size, even though he was able to do it at K-State. Really nice route here, though. Finds that little soft spot in the zone, makes a nice catch, and then you see the yak. That's where I really see him thriving, in the National Football League. I don't really see him as being a feature guy like he was at K-State. And I know he's a tough competitor. It's just that size limits him. 5'5" is small by people standards, let alone football standards. He's going to have some guys out there on the offensive line for the Chiefs that could be, well, maybe not now, but who are maybe over a foot taller than he is, if not maybe 2 feet, or not 2 feet, but close to 10 inches taller than he is. That's kind of crazy to think about. But he's a competitive guy. Like I mentioned, though, got to develop those skills in the slot. I think that's where he'll be able to make some money. Punt return, kick return, special teams. He's going to have to get really good at those things if he wants a chance to be able to make a consistent impact in the NFL.
Yeah, no, it is going to be a favorite of everybody's, right? Just because he is the local dude. Went to Blue Springs, right? Is that where he went? Yeah, he went to Blue Springs.
No, he's from Texas. He went to K-State.
Oh, who am I? Oh, I'm thinking of the edge rusher, Felix Enrique-Uzama. He's the local kid. So anyway, one thing interesting about Deuce Vaughn, though, I found was he is one of the only backs in the class you can find that ran more gap scheme in college than zone, which is obvious, right? You don't have many teams that are running more gap than zone, but yeah, he has more gap runs according to PFF than zone runs. I do think there is something too where he might just have that mental makeup, in terms of readings, reading blocks and all that, where I feel like he could make himself a pretty useful back in the NFL for quite a while. And honestly, being that short sometimes is an advantage. I mean, it really is. And running between the boxes or running in the box and all that. So excited to see where he goes for sure. I hope it's the right place, right? I think he's the kind of guy that if he goes to the wrong place, maybe it doesn't end up, being the maximum version of his career. But I'm going to be talking about a guy, because the Deuce Vaughn, or do we think he's maybe a day 3 guy? I don't think he's hitting round 3. And Achane's obviously a day 2 guy. Tyjae Spears, I think, is a day 2 guy, right? He's kind of trended that way. He's a Tulane running back that really has become a hot name, especially for Chiefs Kingdom. He is someone that in the Senior Bowl he kind of took off and just impressed. And he has, what I like about him is he's kind of this. He doesn't look as short or as small of a build to me as he is, right? He's 5'10". He weighed in at the combine 5'10", 200 pounds, just over 200 pounds, so 201 pounds, but you see that he's kind of this high cut player. He kind of has the long legs that give him I feel like a pretty good speed down the field. He has that breakaway ability you're seeing right here. That obviously makes sense when you have the longer legs, maybe, that you can have a little more stride in your game. He had the 39-inch vertical, which, you mentioned how, Achane only had 33. 39 is a very good number. And 10.5 broad is obviously a good number as well, a solid number. So he's a really athletic dude, and you kind of see he can run away from guys here. And so he does have a little bit of that breakaway speed, I'd say. Maybe not like the most breakaway speed like a guy like Achane, but it's really just the wiggle. It's really just how he can kind of, get skinny through gaps, through lanes, and really just kind of, do it effortlessly, do it seamlessly. I think there are running backs that can get skinny, right? That can kind of, narrow their shoulders and get through holes. And I hate using this comparison, but it's almost the way like Le'Veon Bell did it back in the day. He does kind of have a little bit of that wiggle. And as a higher cut running back, I think that's kind of where the comp comes in too. But it's just such a decisiveness. When he hits gaps, you're kind of seeing on that play too, which was a good play. Let me back up and kind of maybe highlight that one a little more, because you're just seeing how, again, he's following his blocks well. He's setting them up well. He's coming off the kick out block, but you see, once he gets into that open space, once he gets to that third level, he can really manipulate a defender, get past him to not get tripped up by the ankle, or the ankle tackle. Because I do think, again, he's a little bigger of a player than he comes in, and I think he plays that way. And you're going to see it towards the end here, because I do want to show some of his pass protection clips. But again, here's some receiving clips too, where I just feel like, again, he's showing that wiggle, being able to make guys miss an open space, which again, me and Nate, we talked about. That's the kind of running back we want. In the Chiefs offense to complement Isaiah Pacheco. So I do think he has that ability to, win an open space, that home run ability to an extent, to make big plays. But I also think, and let me get to him, I think he also has a chance to be a good pass protector at his size. He has the willingness. I know it's not the greatest rep there, but I just like how he sets up, how he, comes together, brings his hands, kind of shoots the hands, and has kind of, pretty good legs. It could be better, in terms of foot, placement. But then here you see another good rep where he just, he's getting on somebody and he gets on them, right? They end up making the tackle. Man, I thought I had there was another good one where he's blocking somebody pretty well that I must have not included. But yeah, no. So I think he's got the size, man. I think he's got the size to be a pretty good pass protecting back. But again, you're just seeing some of this wiggle that he has, that he can get out of stuff and cut back, on zones. You can see how he could be, making guys miss and all that. So I get why he's such a hot name, right? He's definitely someone that, they should be considering, round 3, round 2. Mm-hmm. And if they really want to add an offensive playmaker outside of the receiver position, outside of the tight end position, I get how he could fit into the Chiefs offense and really work. Nate, do you have any thoughts on Tyjae Spears? I know you looked at him. I know he was someone you looked at.
No, I enjoyed him, and I think you made a really good point. He's not like kind of compared to like what Clyde Edwards-Helaire was. Like Clyde Edwards-Helaire was so like agile in his cuts at LSU. That's not what Spears is. Spears, I wouldn't say, is the most agile, but he's really balanced, and he like distributes the weight really well, so he can like cut in like small spaces like that. I really enjoyed him. Did you get a chance to watch him, Caleb? What'd you think about him?
Man, tell me if I'm way off on this comp or not, but he kind of reminds me of Jeff Wilson a little bit. Maybe not so. I don't know. I just kind of thought the way I've seen them two play, he just kind of sparks it up, just because I think they kind of have that similar build and they can kind of get on that long speed. Mm-hmm. But I've watched, Tulane had some good players this year, by the way, too. That was a good football
USC,
program.
Right? They beat USC in the bowl.
They beat USC in the Cotton Bowl down there.
And they have that film up. I honestly just wasn't able to get to it. I really want to watch it. Did he play? He played in that game, right?
Yeah, no, he did. He had a big game.
They have the film up. Yeah, I know. I wish I would have grabbed some clips from that. But all right, Nate, you have another exciting back that we're going to talk about here. Who do you got?
Yeah, no, the other one is definitely a day 3 back, through and through. I would guess, probably round 5, round 6. But if you're looking for someone that could potentially be a pass protecting back for the Chiefs going forward, a guy who could be a third down receiving back, it's Kenny McIntosh out of Georgia. Kind of read his profile real quick. A little bit bigger, 5'11" to 7th ace, 204 pounds. He only ran the 40 and he ran a 4.62, which isn't bad for a running back. It's not great though, by any means. What I found interesting about McIntosh is he has a really low sample of carries. He only had 151 carries in 2022, and that's over 14 games. So that's right around like 11 carries a game. I was kind of looking at it. 33% of his touches in college were targets, which is rather high for a running back. This past season was around 22%. I just looked at Clyde Edwards-Helaire's 2020, and we all or 2019, when he was the last year at LSU. His target share was right around 20% of his touches, or I guess receptions were around 20%. So, like we remember Clyde as being a big time receiver in LSU, and McIntosh is more. And there is some similarities in skill set, obviously different types of body types. But this first clip to me really stood out. Georgia isn't empty, and they're going to have Kenny McIntosh here in the number 2, and he's going to run an option route. And, it's nothing crazy. He's going to be, read the leverage, run outside. He actually does make a really good balance on the sideline, which I'll show in the end zone view. But that's something you just don't see in running backs often. I don't remember a lot of running backs lining up and running option routes. That's like an Alvin Kamara, Christian McCaffrey type thing. And McIntosh did that often for Georgia. He did a good job keeping his feet in the sidelines and cutting right back through the middle. But he's also dynamic vertically as a wide receiver, even without a slower 40. He's going to be matched up one-on-one against this linebacker here, and he's going to run a really nice wheel route. And he's not just like running straight past him. He actually sets this up quite well. He's kind of going to feint outside, kind of swim over to get on top of this linebacker. And he's wide open, and he's going to be able to generate an explosive play off it. I also have the end zone view of it. That kind of shows the move a little more. But he's going to kind of jab inside, set up this linebacker, go inside, and then explode right outside. Really dynamic wheel route. Another thing I really like about him is I think he's a day one pass protector in the NFL. I trust him to be able to handle most things in pass protection. Ohio State's going to send this linebacker through this gap here and send this linebacker kind of looping around. And McIntosh is going to be able to kind of ID this pressure, and he's going to stone this linebacker right in the hole and protect Stetson Bennett, put him right into the ground. Obviously, the pocket kind of collapses around him, but in terms of pass protection, the ability to ID that and read that and also make the block, that was really impressive to me. College running backs are not very good at pass protection just because that's just not something college offenses really have them do. But McIntosh is like a legitimately good pass protector. When I first made like my original montage of him, I had like 4 or 5 clips of him in pass protection because he's a plus. He's someone that I think can instantly play in the NFL as a pass protector. Another rep here. This is empty again. He's going to be in the number 2 position here. They're going to run just a little tunnel screen for him. I think this shows off some of his dynamic ability vertically. Kind of gets, good blocking in open space, but the ability to kind of find that open hole, run through vertically, create a touchdown here for Georgia. He had a really big game against Ohio State in general. I thought this was a good run after. Like I mentioned, the sample of carries is low. And to be perfectly honest, I actually don't think he's a great running back. I don't think he has great vision, or just as a pure ball carrier. I don't think he has great vision. I don't think he's very agile. But the one thing about him is he's very good in open space. Just going to get a handoff here. Very good blocking, but, he's not super agile. You're not going to see him make this safety miss with a cut. But the ability just to, angle himself back inside and kind of beat him with speed. This field at the Peach Bowl is generally kind of bad, so that's why he kind of slips up at the end. But the thing about it is just, the open field speed, the ability to beat this safety kind of with a cut in general. So overall, I think McIntosh is a day 3 guy. I would not, I don't think he's a guy that could be a bell cow running back. But luckily for the Chiefs, they have Isaiah Pacheco, so they don't necessarily need that on first and second down. What I think they need is a potential replacement for Jerick McKinnon, short and long term. And I think McIntosh could step in and instantly be this team's third down back, both in pass protection and receiving. So for me, if I have one of those round 5 picks and I get Kenny McIntosh, I think he's someone that can make an instant impact for the Chiefs.
Yeah, absolutely. If you really, if you think he is that good of a pass protector, that's they probably value that skill even more than the receiving part of it.
Yeah,
I would say. So yeah, I would say that's an absolute target. And especially in Georgia's offense, you kind of mentioned it there with how he was running the option route. They had a really pro offense. They had a really, it's going to translate well. He's going to come in and be able to play right away. So great name to be looking at. Caleb, any McIntosh thoughts? And then who are you looking at for seconds?
Yeah, I think McIntosh is one of those guys. He's very pro ready just because of the pass blocking skills, the receiving skills. He's going to be a real hot name on draft day. I've seen all kinds of mock drafts with him, going to the Chiefs. But I'm going to mix it up a little bit, and I'm going to share some video on Roschon Johnson. And really, you hear a lot of people go, they're like, well, he's a big back, and he is a big back. You take a look at him. He runs through people. That's a big dude back there, lining up. And he's just going to take it. Just got a little I think they've got a little pin and pull action. Let me see if I'm wrong. It's more of just like a little G type play. Good block there, but he shakes that guy, stiff arm, and then he is going to finish this to the sideline. He is a load. The thing I find interesting about him, though, he's listed at 6'2", 223 pounds. I feel like this is a guy that could maybe play running back in the NFL for maybe like 5 or 6 seasons, but I think he could be a fullback for 10 seasons. And the reason I say that is because of obviously his ability to block. He's pass protecting right there. They ran the split set backfield with him and Bijan Robinson quite a bit. And you see him, he's going to step up in the hole there. 34 is coming at him, and he's going to fit him up, and he just locks him out, and he looks like a guard in there blocking. And here he is. This is a play the Chiefs were running down the line here. They're going to run 2-back power. He is lead blocking, guard kicks. He leads through. Real nasty finish to the play. Number 2 there, he's going to go down. He lays a nice block on Will Anderson here. He fits him up real well. So my thing when I watch him is I think his highest potential in the NFL would be to almost become like a fullback. But it's just one of those things where I don't know if maybe he'd be willing to or not. He was never like the most productive guy in the world at Texas. But, you go through and look at some of these blocks he has, the way he can. I think this is where he's going to make his money at in the NFL. I mean, and the Chiefs ran this play. They scored a touchdown on it in the Super Bowl, back to the 2-back power. I mean, I would like to see if he could, maybe put on another 10 or 15 pounds, get up to around that 240 range. Maybe he's a fullback. And, he can catch the ball a little bit. He can catch the ball, too. He's actually got pretty reliable hands. They just don't go to him. Gets through a couple tackles there, finishes. That guy lost his helmet at the end of the play. He's going to make you pay. If you want to bring him down, he is going to make you pay. He doesn't have the explosion or speed, but he is like that hammer in there. So I think he's almost, it's interesting to me. I know it's something that Andy Reid has never really used since he's been in Kansas City. But just for him as a prospect, I'd say, dude, let's see if you can get a little stronger. Let's see what you can do. And you can potentially become like a Pro Bowl or an all-pro caliber fullback as opposed to, just being a big third down back for most teams. And, maybe if for some wild reason he falls into the 6th round or so, maybe the Chiefs take a shot on him because I don't think Michael Burton's under contract for next season.
Is Roschon Johnson Darrell Williams at LSU?
I mean, yeah.
That's what I wrote down on my notes. It's like the same thing where he was the backup at LSU, more of the bigger power back, then he comes to the NFL and kind of fills that type of role. That's all I thought of when I watched him.
Honestly, when you watch him, I think he's more powerful.
Yeah,
I think he's bigger too. I think that's probably why Darrell Williams didn't have the frame to maybe try to bulk up and play fullback in the NFL as opposed to just being a big third down back. But I think Johnson, he's got the size and the frame to where he could do something like that. And really, if you compare his skill set and like athletic ability compared to a lot of other fullbacks, he'd be one of the faster fullbacks in the league, bar none there. So it'd be interesting, maybe a team like San Francisco take a chance on him late. I'd like to see him on the Chiefs though, just because I kind of like the idea of just pounding it consistently with him and Pacheco, back and forth.
Hey, I've been dreaming. I think we all as Chiefs fans dream of a day where instead of just having an actual fullback, they use another position and use him as the fullback at times. We've talked about it being Noah Gray. It would make sense for it to be a running back. I don't think he needs to just completely be a fullback. I mean, he can just play the fullback role. You know what I'm saying? Because 56 catches, 3 receiving touchdowns in college. I mean, if you can block like that, he should just be on the field in pass downs, right? Because again, I'm going to say it again. I really think the Chiefs, and we'll see who they get at left tackle because maybe they don't need to worry about chipping as much as they were in past seasons. But I don't know. I feel like they really value that pass blocking. And so if he's just going to be an option because of that, not even just to be a running back, I think. But I like that you went there, hey, he could just be like an all pro fullback. Like, let's just do it. Let's just go, let's just go all the way there. Well, I'm going to switch it up with my last guy because he's not a fullback type, I would say. But, he's an interesting one. I actually kind of think he looks like Jerick McKinnon when I watch him. And it is Eric Gray of Oklahoma. He's a 4-year player in college. He actually was originally at Tennessee for the first couple of years of his career, was actually one of their lead backs for his true freshman and sophomore season, and then transferred to Oklahoma for his final 2 seasons. And you're just going to see a little bit of the first few plays are just kind of stretch runs where you can see that he can kind of get out in space and have a little bit of acceleration, have some bursts, right? And, have that fluidity, kind of like a McKinnon, where he just has that. He's not going to be the fastest dude. He's not going to be the quickest, shiftiest dude. But you're going to see here he has good vision. He has that burst, right up the gut, right? Once he sees that seam, he's not going to mess around. He's going to put his foot in the ground and go full steam ahead, vertical, run away from defenders. I just think in an offense like the Chiefs, where it's spread out, kind of like what it has been in Oklahoma, you see here he's kind of a tougher guy to bring down, similarly to Jerick McKinnon. I just think, again, in an offense like Oklahoma's, where he had to do a lot of, not only running in between the tackles, but also, running, outside, just on stretch runs and zone runs. I just feel like he has that good vision. He's kind of a true running back, right? He has the kind of that running back vision, the patience, I would say. He definitely has some of that patience where he's setting blocks up, kind of waiting for stuff to happen. And then again, you kind of see some of that suddenness. And so I do think he would fit, being kind of just a change of pace back. Didn't see a lot of receiving ability or just examples, I should say, honestly, in his game. I really didn't. I just kind of limited film study, honestly. They only really had a couple of games of his true junior and senior year. But you're going to see here that they were comfortable with him taking the direct snaps as the Wildcat back and really just pounding the rock in between the tackles. I think, again, talk about Jerick McKinnon's replacement. I think that was something that they trusted him to do, but also just he's someone that can be versatile like that, where he feels like kind of a finesse player at times, but also can run in between the tackles and get you tough yards. Now, the way he's not necessarily Jerick McKinnon is the pass protecting. He is I didn't really even tell you what his height and weight was, but he's about 5'9.5", came in at 207 pounds at the combine, which 207 pounds is a pretty, it's pretty thick for a running back. It's not bad. Had a 37.5-inch vertical with a 9.10 broad jump. So the explosive numbers aren't terrible. You'd like to see a better broad jump, but the vertical is not bad. And so he has some of that explosion in his game, that leg strength. But I don't know. He has the willingness, I'd say, but I don't know if he's if he's all the way there as a pastime back. But I mean, you see here, he's there. He meets him. He comes back. It's good work. But he's definitely going to be someone that needs to work on the strength and all that. But just someone that I think could be a decent option. I think he is kind of picking up steam as a guy that could go in round 3. But for me, he's kind of just a day 3 option that has really solid play. And honestly, here's just another thing too, is he has a really good resume off the field. Like one of those guys that just has goes out of his way to do extracurricular stuff and was all academic and was finals for awards for on and off the field things. That's going to be up the Chiefs' alley, obviously, and it's going to make him just rise up boards in general, I think, obviously. So, yeah, Eric Gray, Oklahoma running back, definitely someone to watch. And that's all we have, all the running backs we have today. Boys, is there a favorite of these 6 that you like, even if it wasn't one of your own? Nate, you liking Achane the most, or what are you thinking?
I think I would take Tyjae Spears first.
Oh, yeah?
I'm trying to remember who I graded higher. I had them graded pretty similarly for me. What I would say is Achane probably has the highest ceiling, but if I had to take one back that you said he's going to succeed in the NFL, I would say Tyjae Spears. I enjoyed both of them. I thought they were both fun.
Caleb, what about you? I say real quick, I'd probably say Spears too. He was very impressive. But Caleb, who would you say?
Yeah, I mean, probably Spears and Achane, just because you have that, the experience they have, and obviously the explosive ability to score. The Chiefs, if they're not going to create explosive plays in the air, they're going to maybe be looking for that on the ground. Obviously, Spears maybe a little bit more in the passing game, maybe seems like a more complete prospect. Running backs are always so hard to evaluate, though, because you get guys. Honestly, I feel like this class, there's a lot of guys who have played a ton, which is as opposed to the Chiefs going out and finding Pacheco in the back end of the 7th round with very low production at the University of Rutgers, but it was more of a situational thing. But that's what makes this fun, I guess, is trying to figure out who's going to go where. But yeah.
Hey man, we're counting down, man. We are less than 2 months away, and we are excited. And this running back class is definitely one to be watching for if you're a Chiefs fan. I do think they add to the running back room at some point in the draft. We'll see what they do in free agency, though. I do think there's a chance they address it in that space as well. But until next week, when we're talking about yet another position in this draft class, which we will determine probably soon after this show. We will catch you next time. Appreciate you watching. For Caleb, for Nate, I'm Ron, and we will talk to you then.